In this tutorial, I will show you how to create a hexagonal panel from scratch and add it to your interior scene. It's the perfect way to practice your Blender skills and create something truly eye-catchy. First, let's start by opening up Blender and creating a new scene. Next, we will delete the light and camera that are in the default scene. This just helps to clean things up in the viewport. We want to change the cube that's in the scene into a hexagon prism. So let's do that by using a loop cut tool and making a cube into an hexagon. Then let's flatten this up. To make the hexagon the correct size, we'll resize it to match the real world measurement. Then let's press Ctrl E to apply the scale. To smooth out the edges, we'll add a bevel to them. 3 segments is enough. And to give a hexagon a smooth appearance, we'll shade it smooth. We will then add an array modifier to create multiple copies of a hexagon panel. We will set the array to repeat 100 times on the y-axis and then duplicate it on the x-axis. We have to give a small space in between so that it does not look attached. Once we have the array set up, we'll apply both the bevel and array modifier. We will then separate the wall panel into smaller parts by pressing P and selecting by loose parts. To make it easier to rotate the hexagon, we'll set the origin of the hexagon to the geometric center. Finally, to add some randomness to the overall appearance, we'll randomize the position and rotation of the hexagon by going to Object, Transform, Randomize Transform. Let's change the X and Y value so that we get an imperfect looking hexagon panel. Let's press Shift S and place the cursor to the center of the hexagon panel and add an empty. And let's select all the hexagon panel and parent it to the empty by pressing Ctrl P and selecting Object, Keep Transform. Now the hexagon panel has been modeled. Let's move on to the texture. Let's add a little more interest to the hexagon panel by creating a simple procedural texture for it. We will start by adding a color ramp to the base color of the texture, followed by a noise texture. If you have the Node Wrangler add-on enabled, you can press Ctrl T to add texture coordinate and mapping to the node. Let's change the texture coordinate to object and increase the scale, detail and roughness to get the desired effect. Now we can give the hexagon panel any color we want. After applying the base color, we can add a bump map to give the texture some depth. We will decrease the distance and the strength of the bump map to keep it settled. We will add another bump map to create a pattern on top of the texture. Let's use a Warner texture to create the pattern. We will change the F1 distance to edge and reconnect it to height. Next, we will connect the Warner texture to the mapping node and increase the scale. You can keep the pattern as it is, but I want to make it look more consistent, so I am going to reduce the randomness. And that's it. We now have a hexagon panel with a procedural texture applied to it. Now that we have finished creating the hexagon panel, and adding a procedural texture to it, we are ready to move on to the final step of the process, rendering the scene. To make this scene more visually appealing, we'll use the Hexagon panel in an interior scene that was created a few weeks ago. To add the Hexagon panel to the scene, we'll go to the Files, select Append, and navigate to the folder where the panel was saved. Then we'll append the panel to the scene. Once the panel has been appended, we'll place it on the empty wall in the interior scene. If there are any extra copies of the panel that we don't need, we can delete them to keep the scene clean and tidy. Finally, we'll place the camera in the scene. Hit render to see the final result. With a new Hexagon panel added to the interior scene, it adds an interesting element to the scene and makes it look more complete. Hope you found this tutorial helpful and informative. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. And don't forget to follow Imperfect Blender on Instagram and Twitter for more Blender tutorial and helpful tips.